Hello and welcome to the Learning Love podcast. I'm Dr. Mark A. Hicks, author of the book Learning Love. It is possible to build the healthy, happy, thriving relationships you have always wanted. So let's spend some time learning love. Love is the answer. Now all we have to do is explore all the questions. We have to explore the questions. We live in a world that talks about love, but doesn't really know how to do it, doesn't know how to apply it, doesn't know what love is and how to live it out. Love is a learned skill set. Learning love isn't romantic, it's revolutionary. It changes our homes, our workplaces, our communities. And we do that, we start to change our nation, even our world. And so that's what we learn here. We learn love. And today, I'm going to talk about some of the really bad advice out there that we hear about love. There's some things that are in our society that have gotten into our culture that are just really bad advice. And when we buy into this, and sometimes we do it without even realizing it, it's just stuff we've heard, stuff we've played into, things that we just assumed were correct, things that we've heard maybe since childhood, and we just assume that that's the way it is. And we need to break those patterns. We need to understand that some of these things that we've heard, some of these things that maybe we've lived by are really bad advice, that we need to break those patterns and find healthier ways, happier ways of living together. That's what learning love is. And sometimes it means unlearning some of the things that we've learned in order to learn healthy patterns. So today we're going to talk about a few just really bad ideas, bad advice that we may have heard over the years and get out of some of these patterns. The first one is, if they're mean to you, it means they care. If they're mean to you, it means they like you. We hear this when on the playground sometimes as kids. We tell children this, oh, that just means they like you if they're mean to you. That's a really bad pattern to get into. We never want to normalize toxic relationships. We don't want to normalize abuse. No one was put on this earth to be abused. And when we say stuff like, oh, if they're mean, it just means they care. No, it doesn't. It means they're mean. Whether they care about you or not is not the issue at that point. They might have feelings for you, but they need to learn how to express those the right way. And so when we say this, especially to kids, it just really makes me cringe that we would somehow be okay with saying it's a sign of love to be mean to someone. That's absurd. Even if that person does have feelings, they need to learn how to express them the right way. And we need to teach that in our society. We need to teach that in our homes, in our communities, in our churches. Wherever we teach love, we need to teach that it doesn't involve being mean. It doesn't involve normalizing toxic, hostile, or even abusive behavior. Love is always to build people up. It is always in a non-negotiable way about respect. Love always involves respect that is not negotiable. And so this idea that, oh, don't worry if they're mean to you, it just means they like you, especially when we're talking about saying this to children, please don't do that. We need to stop making that the advice we give and start teaching children, if someone's mean to you, here's how to set boundaries. Here's what a boundary is. This is how we deal with people that are not respecting us. We're going to respect ourselves enough to expect respect from other people. We're going to have that as an expectation from early childhood. I respect myself enough to have respect as an expectation, how people treat me. They're mean to me, they're not respecting me, and we're not going to be in a good relationship there. That's bad advice number one. Another really bad idea in relationships is the old adage of playing hard to get. Now, we hear this a lot in dating, but I think this plays into other relationships as well. Sometimes in marriage, there's this little game people like to play of pulling back to see if your partner will chase you, pulling away, being distant to see if you can get them to jump through some hoops or to give you more attention or find some way of sort of manipulating their emotions. And playing hard to get is not just about dating. It's about how we live out in our marriage. Sometimes we may see this in friendships, that someone is all in a relationship, in a friendship, and it just seems like you've got a great relationship here. And then they start pulling back, not for any reason, not because they're busy, not because of life. That happens sometimes in relationships. That's okay. But they just have this little game they play of seeing if you'll chase them. This playing hard to get is about normalizing emotional games, of seeing if you can get people to play these games, of chasing you, of manipulating people's emotion, of making them wonder if you're really in the relationship or not, giving them attention and then pulling it back. We do not need to have immature emotional games in our relationships. That's not healthy. If we're doing it in our dating life, we're just setting ourselves up for these emotional games in marriage, in our romantic partnerships that are long-term, and even in friendships and in other relationships, family perhaps, even co-workers. If we're playing hard to get, if that's some kind of game we like to play, we're setting ourselves up for emotional games, for manipulation, and that is never, ever healthy. If you like someone, if you want to be in a relationship with someone, have the maturity to pursue that relationship in a healthy way. Have the maturity to put away the games and actually see if a relationship can develop. Another piece of advice that we often hear is just wait. Love will come to you when you least expect it. Now, I'm not opposed to all of this. I think waiting can be a good idea. I do not think that we need to be desperate for relationships. I'll talk a little bit about that more later in this broadcast. It's okay to take your time, but the idea that we are going to just passively sit back and these magical relationships are going to just emerge in our life, that we just sit back and wait, and that very special someone, that particular person that was just destined for us will magically appear, will just ride in on a horse or something. It's just not the way life is. And so one of the things that we need to do is, yes, we need to be patient. We do not need to be desperately looking for relationships, particularly romantic ones, but it's not about sitting back and being passive. We don't just wait for love. We live out love. And that starts with us. Sometimes we're waiting for that special someone. It's more important to be that special someone, to learn to love yourself first, because love is organic. It's not something we just go out and find. It's not something we go search for. It's not something that magically just shows up. It's something that organically grows within us. And when we love ourselves, we grow that love within us. We love, respect, accept ourselves. We are going to be in a place to connect with other people in a healthy way. We are going to have that organic nature of love that connects with people when they do come along. And so being patient is not bad. But just sitting back and waiting for some magical moment where that perfect job, that perfect family, that perfect relationship, that perfect romance is just going to show up in our life, not the best advice, because we really need to be going about our life living out love. Then we can build the relationships we want, not just wait for them to magically show up. The next piece of advice that I would like to shoot down is the idea that you complete me, that we are somehow incomplete as people, that we are half a person waiting for our other half. This kind of goes back to that wait and they'll magically show up, because they are destined for us. We have our soulmate out there. We're sort of half a person, wait on our other half to magically come into our life, and then we will be a whole person. We will be complete. This is a bad scenario, a bad attitude to take into relationships, because healthy relationships come when two whole people have a relationship together. They love themselves, they love each other, and they build that healthy relationship together. It sounds romantic to say you complete me, but when we are looking for someone else to fill some voids in our life, to make us valid in some way, to validate us, where we are somehow worthy, that we are somehow loved now that they are here, and we are now one complete person because we have that somebody. Or maybe it's because we now have children, that we are complete, or that we found that perfect job, so our life is now complete. We are a whole person to begin with. We are created as a whole person. We are a full and complete person in ourselves, and we're looking to have healthy, thriving, happy relationships with other whole people. So don't look for somebody to complete you. You are already complete. Look for other people that you can build happy relationships with in life. It's going to be a lot better advice. Here's another one that has messed up a lot of relationships. Never go to bed angry. You know the reason we have fights sometimes? Because we're tired. One of the reasons we have arguments with our spouse is because we are exhausted. Life is tiring. You know, we all have stuff. We have jobs that are tiring. We have just things going on in life. We have grief from one thing or another that happens in our lives. Sometimes we just don't feel good. And we reach this point of fatigue. And when we do, we get irritable. And that irritability can lead to arguments. And if we have this idea that we never go to bed angry, we always stay up as late as we need to make sure we settle this argument, that's a good way to escalate things. The more tired we become, the more we're liable to say things that we'll regret, or our partner will say something that we regret them saying, or they regret saying. And it can just spiral out of control. The more tired we get, the more exhausted we become, and the longer we let these arguments go on and not make any progress, it's easy for things to escalate. Sometimes we're just tired. Yes, we have to settle things. Yes, we have to talk things out. But sometimes we need to take a break. We need to go to bed and just sleep and see how you feel in the morning. I'm not saying to brush things under the rug. I'm not saying just forget about it and move on like nothing happened. Yes, we need to talk things out, but make sure you're rested. Make sure you feel okay. Make sure you're at a place where you really are ready to work things out and not just venting and blowing off steam because you're tired. Put away this idea that we can't go to bed angry. Yes, go to bed. You're still angry. It's fine. Get some rest. Get some sleep. Remember, you still love each other, and try it again the next day. A lot of times you're going to find out that it's a lot easier once you've had some sleep, once you calm down a little bit, to have a more reasonable conversation and to work that out. Now, the next one comes from an old movie, very old movie. And there was a line in a movie where one of the characters said in this love story, love means never having to say you're sorry. And that got into the culture for a while. I haven't heard that particular phrase in a very long time, but when I was very young, I heard that one quite a bit. You would see it on posters and stuff. Now, people may not say that today, at least I haven't heard it, but I think it's still part of our culture. I think it got so deeply rooted that we just assume that, if we love each other, we don't need to apologize. We don't need to go through all that. We just need to get over it. We just need to move on. One of the old Southern sayings about family is, it all comes out in the wash. And you know what? It doesn't. When we have struggles in a relationship, when we've done things wrong, apologies can be necessary. Making amends is a good thing. That is part of a healthy relationship. When we've messed up, going back and fixing that in a way that we apologize and we make amends and we do things to make that relationship good again is a positive thing. It's a healthy thing. And so carrying this attitude that, if they love me, they just need to get over it. They don't need an apology. Or feeling like, I shouldn't expect someone to ever apologize to me because, if I love them, I'll just get over it. I'll just move on. I'll just forgive and forget. Those are all very bad attitudes that lead to a normalization of this bad behavior that it's just somehow okay. It's expected to treat each other badly. Now, it's expected we're going to make mistakes, but it should also be an expectation that we fix those, that we apologize, that we make amends, and that we correct that behavior. That's what builds healthy relationships. I recently did a show about that, of what do we do when we mess up? What do we do? So go back and look at that episode. Look at that episode of the Learning Love podcast, because it will tell you the steps to go through to make amends, to fix that relationship when we mess up. This idea that we don't have to say I'm sorry because we love each other, so we'll just get over it, just leads to resentment. It leads to making those same mistakes over and over again and not bringing us to a place that we can connect again in a positive way, in a healthy way, because apologizing is not a bad thing. It doesn't need to be humiliating. We don't want it to be humiliating. If somebody apologizes to us, we don't want them to grovel. We just want a sincere apology, and we want to restore that relationship with the people we love. So the idea that love means never having to say you're sorry is just a bad idea. We mess up. We're human. Say we're sorry. Apologize. Make amends. And fix the relationship. You'll be a lot happier and healthier along the way. The next one is jealousy is a sign of love. No, jealousy is a sign of insecurity. And jealousy is a sign of control. Now, this gets to be a real issue, particularly if you have been hurt, if you have been cheated on, if you had a partner or a spouse that cheated on you, broke your heart, destroyed the relationship. That's going to be tough to get past these feelings of jealousy. Anytime a new partner, a new spouse is around other people, there might be that underlying fear that they might cheat on you too. Relationships have a measure of trust. Relationships build trust. Healthy relationships build trust. That takes time. It's not just freely given. Okay, it takes time to build. It is a building process, but healthy relationships build that. They build that measure of trust. And the jealousy we see in relationships is not a sign of love. It's a sign of insecurity. Now, you may have good reason to be insecure. Again, if you've been cheated on before, yeah, that's a reason to be insecure sometimes. Now, we need to work past that. We need to get help very often to work through those insecurities, to come to a place that we are secure in ourselves and in our relationships, and to be in relationships that we can trust. And if we don't trust a person in that relationship, then why are we with them? If we do not trust that person in a relationship, then it calls into question, is that really a healthy relationship of love? Maybe we've just linked ourselves with somebody because we're afraid to be alone or a number of other things that can happen. But is that a real relationship of love if we are continually jealous, if we're continually insecure? Jealousy is not a sign of love. It's a sign of insecurity. It's a sign of controlling behavior, and both of those things need to be addressed. If we're jealous because we want to control our spouse, control our partner, if we have this sense of jealousy because I love you, so I just want to control you, that's not healthy. Control is not healthy in a relationship. Relationships have freedom. They have trust that has to be built. But if we don't have that, we don't have a healthy relationship. If you want a healthy relationship, jealousy is not going to be part of it. Another one of my favorite pieces of very bad advice is, once you're in love, everything will fall into place. This is just dreadful for a lot of people. And it particularly happens when people are dating, they're engaged, they've got a lot of problems, but hey, if we get married, I think we'll fix them. I think we'll just work stuff out. I think it will fall into place. If we're really in love, it will work itself out. Feelings of love, feelings of emotion don't necessarily work things out. In my book, Learning Love, I talk about the 5 components of love. Emotion is one of them. It's a very important component of love. But too many times, that's the only one we have. We have a feeling of love. We have an emotional connection, and we don't have the other 4. They are not just going to fall into place. Having an emotional connection to someone, feeling those feelings of love for someone, does not mean everything will fall into place. It takes all 5 components of love to really build those healthy relationships. And so this idea that, hey, if we have a connection, if we have an affection for one another, if we have an attraction for one another, if we have an emotional connection, then everything's going to fall into place. It's not. Life is hard. Doesn't mean we can't have good relationships, but it means we have to build them. And we can build them by understanding what love is and how to practice it. That's what we teach here at the Learning Love podcast. It's what I teach in my book, Learning Love. And I'm not the only one. There's other people out there teaching these things as well, of how to build healthy relationships. They are built with time, with effort, with understanding, with the knowledge of what love is and how to build it. And so don't expect it just to fall into place. It's okay when it doesn't just fall into place. Work at it. And when I say work, it's not a grind. It's not misery. It's just effort that we learn and we practice to get it right, to develop those healthy relationships. Don't expect an emotional connection to make everything fall into place. Life is not that simple. It's more complex than that. But we can build healthy relationships when we put in that effort to learn what love is, learn the components of love, learn how to practice it, and live together well. And finally, the last one I'll talk about today, the last very bad piece of advice is, if it's meant to be, it'll just happen. This is similar to some of the others where we're just supposed to sit back and wait for it, that we're just going to see if it's meant to be. Healthy relationships are always about the practice of love. Now, there are some times, as I've said many times before, that we can't continue that relationship. It's just not right. It's an unhealthy, toxic, dysfunctional relationship that just is not right. And it's okay not to have those. It's okay to set boundaries with those. It's okay to end some relationships. That's what dating is for, is to figure out, is this going to be a healthy relationship? And if it falls into dysfunction, it's probably good to end that relationship. We live these things out, not just in a way that, let's just see if it's meant to be. And if it is, it'll work out. In those cases, it probably won't, because life isn't just to be watched to go by. It is not a spectator sport. Life is something we are engaged in. It's something that we actually live and practice. Again, let me say, it's not a spectator sport. It's something that we live out. And so don't bring the attitude, well, if it's meant to be, it'll work out. No, it is something that we see. Is this working out because we're living in a healthy way? Or particularly, as I said, with dating relationships, new relationships, friendships, is this one that's right for me? Is it a healthy relationship? Or is it one that I need to limit or end? And if it's not working in a relationship that's really important to us, a spouse, family member, somebody that we really want to have a relationship with, then get help. Don't just sit back and say, well, if it's meant to be, it'll work out. No, get help for those. If it's a family member, if it's a spouse, if it's your parent, your child, you want those relationships. And so give them every effort. Get help for those. Don't just sit back passively. Get help. See if you can make that relationship work. If people work on those relationships in healthy ways, you can build healthy relationships. So these are some items of bad advice that we often hear, not necessarily in those exact words, but in those attitudes of just really misunderstandings of what love is. And so let's just disregard those. Let's put aside all of those cliches and let's build healthy, happy, thriving relationships by knowing what love is and how to live it out. That's why I say that learning love isn't romantic, it's revolutionary. Because we put aside all these cliches, we put aside the passive things, we put aside the unhealthy things, and we live out the components of love, practicing them to build the relationships that we want, that we need, and that we deserve. So that's my thoughts this week as we build those healthy relationships that we really want in our life. As always, I hope you'll go to my website, markahicks.com. A lot of good things there I hope you'll take a look at, including some easy links to purchase my book, Learning Love, Building a Life That Matters, and Healthy Relationships That Last. That's what I want for you, and the book will help you get those things. I want to thank my producer, Abby Graves of Abby Graves Production, and I want to thank all of you for listening. Until next week, love well, everyone.